This is the first year of the project. We have two trials in Illinois, one here in the Mollisol at the research station. We have another on-farm trial near Effingham. And we have 3 more sites in collaboration with Dr. Sean Castillo and Dr. Shalimar Armstrong at Purdue University. So that will give us a wide range of soil and environment that will help us understand a little better of the impacts of cereal rye cover crop on soybean production, and will help us understand also in situations where we tend to see negative impacts and how can we remediate those situations. In this case, we're looking at nitrogen and sulfur fertilization as a way that we can optimize soybean production. So here we're standing in one of the cereal rye plots. You can see differences in plant height and the color of the canopy. Moving to the next plot. This is one without cereal rye. You can see how the plants are taller and more green. I still need to go back and look the specific fertilizer treatments, but this is the pattern that we've seen so far up in this season, where the beans following cereal rye, regardless of our fertilizer treatment, they're a little bit behind the ones without the cereal rye cover crop. And today our crew is taking tissue samples. Soybeans are at the R2 growth stages. So we have a nice crew here today taking tissue samples in our plots. We're almost done. We're standing in between two plots here. On my right is a soybean without the cereal rye cover crop. Here on the left is a cereal rye following a cover crop, and you can see there's still, if you look at the soil surface, you can still see some of the cereal rye residue. So when we do cover crops, we tend to do no-till planting. With the drying conditions that we had this year, it's not surprising to see that some of the cereal rye residue is still hanging on the soil. But in years that we had good season, I remember 2018, for example, where May was fairly warm and wetter than normal. For that year in particular, some of the other research that we have looking at cereal rye cover crop, for that season we saw that the cereal rye decomposed very fast. So you can still see so, but the differences that I wanted to highlight here, and this is something interesting that we saw, was the differences in terms of soybean growth and plant height. So this field was planted on May 12, so moisture was very good. The beans emerged and established very well. And then with the drying conditions that we started to have early in the season, especially in May going to June, what we saw is that the soybean following a cereal rye cover crop, regardless of nitrogen and sulfur fertilization, they were struggling a little bit, right? So something was happening there, and we have some soil sensors here that will help us answer that question of what's causing that slow growth that we saw early in the season on the beans that follow cereal rye. But you can see that differences is still in place. So here you can see the plants are a little taller compared to the ones with the cereal rye cover crop. Because of the differences in height and growth stages, at least early in the season, the beans following cereal rye was at least 1 or 2 growth stages behind the beans that follow no cereal rye cover crop. But I just take a quick look here, and they're about the same growth stage right now. So when I looked in some of the beans here, you can see they set up a lot of flowers down in the bottom. You know that beans set up more flowers that they can fill. That's not a bad sign. We see some flower being aborted down the row, but overall beans are at the R3 growth stages. They're pushing R4. So I suspect sometime this week, today is August 1st, we're gonna come and take tissue sample again at the R4 growth stages to help us understand nutrient status throughout the season. This is not what we wanted to show because we want to make a good case for cover crops, but I think that we need to speak the truth and the reality that we're seeing, especially in this year, that we see some slow growth with the soybeans following cereal rye. And again, it's not a bad thing because that's the goal that we're trying to achieve here with this project, is optimize soybean production and seed quality in cover crop fields, right? So this is a good indication why we're doing research, to try and better understand what's happening and what's causing the slow growth and potentially yield impacts on soybeans. But we don't know until we harvest. This is the first year of the project. We're gonna have a second year of this experiment again with 2 locations. We're gonna have a different field here because we're coming off a previous corn crop. But again, 2 years with 5 locations, that will give us 10 side years. That's a very good data set that will help us answer some of the questions that we have set up with this experiment.